This is the Skechers Running Aeroburst. It's a brand new shoe that's part of a brand new generation of Skechers product. And while it is a great looking shoe, I have to wonder, is the beauty just skin deep, or does this shoe have it where it counts? It's time to lace up the Aeroburst and take it for a ride. Yo, what's going on? My name is Kofuzi and I'm a non-elite runner who reviews running shoes here on YouTube. And today I want to talk to you guys about the Skechers Running Aeroburst. But before I give you my thoughts on this shoe, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that Skechers sent to me for the purpose of review, so I did not have to pay for this shoe. However, nobody's paying me to make this video or to include their brand in this video, and nobody's going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the Skechers Aeroburst, and let's start with the specs. This is a 42 millimeter stack height shoe with a 6 millimeter drop, giving us 36 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot. Now this midsole is made out of Hyperburst ice, which I've run in Hyperburst before, but this is a new iteration of that foam, and it is a dual density supercritical foam. But there's also a bit of a stabilizing element in this shoe as well. Skechers is using their carbon H plate, but the H plate isn't like a full-length carbon fiber plate, which you might see in a racing shoe. It's more in the position of where you might see like a 3/4 or a half length plate, which sometimes those tend to be more teardrop shape, but you got an H shape in the forefoot of the shoe, and that's really intended to just stabilize everything that's in here. The geometry of the shoe, there is a really gentle rocker in the forefoot, and there's a little bit of a bevel in the back of the shoe, and that's what Skechers is calling their hyper arc. And to protect all of this foam, there is Goodyear rubber on the outside. I think they do a really good job here of having some exposed foam to save on some weight and to give areas for that foam to expand when it's compressed, but they also do have plenty of coverage on here and plenty of grip. Moving to the upper, there is an engineered mesh which stays nice and minimal. There is an updated S logo on the side of the shoe. It's not like those old days of the Razor where it said speed all over the sides of the Skechers shoe. Now it's a little bit more muted. There is a bunch of pads on the outside parts of the heel, which I've never really understood what exterior pads are supposed to be, since your foot can't feel them on the outside of the pretty stiff heel cup there is back here. But people have been telling me that it's to make it feel nicer when you pick it up at the store. And maybe that's what it's for, but we've got some vestigial padding over on the sides of the heel cup, and also a nice restrained amount of padding for a shoe of this type, all through the heel collar, ending in this Achilles flare. The tongue is moderately padded, I'd say pretty standard kind of stuff for a max cushion kind of shoe. It is gusseted at least on the medial side or the inner side of the tongue as well, to help keep it from sliding out of place. Altogether, this shoe comes in at a weight that is about what I would expect for a shoe that looks like this. It's of this size and in that max cushion genre. Comes in at 10.9 ounces or 309 grams. Now that we talked about what this shoe is like on paper, let's talk about what this shoe is like on the road. Skechers tells us that shoe is designed for long distance routines, and I think I can agree with that. The midsole foam that's in this shoe, the Hyperburst ice, is delightful. It's got a really great amount of squish, and it has a very pleasant amount of spring back on the decompression when you're pushing off the ground and getting into next stride. It creates a really nice rhythm of soft compression and decompression that is enjoyable for recovery runs and also long time on feet runs. There's a really great sense of airiness and lightness to the shoe, which is pretty remarkable because the shoe, at least on the scale, is pretty heavy. It's almost 11 ounces, but it seems to carry that weight really well, and it doesn't feel like a heavy shoe. Now, I'm not saying that this is a shoe that's so light and airy that I'd want to take it for a workout or anything with any kind of pace changes. It's still a big shoe and it's still a squishy shoe, but that sense of a lightness to it makes it that much more pleasant to reach for on recovery day, on those days where I just want to be a little bit more gentle on the body. As far as fit goes, I went with my usual running shoe size, and that worked really well for me. That's what I'm gonna recommend for most of you that are out there. But keep in mind, this shoe is a little bit roomier than I was expecting, and so I found that to be pleasant. It's not a wide shoe by any means, but it is a very comfortable upper to have on feet. I've been really enjoying the sensation that I've been getting out of the Aeroburst. It is a nice and comfortable shoe, soft in the way that I like softness in shoes, and it's a shoe that I could see myself wearing for hours at a time. Before we wrap up this video, let's take a moment to zoom out and see where the Aeroburst fits within the broader Skechers running lineup. And I think before I can get to that, I think we have to rewind a little bit further and do a brief history of Skechers running. Now, I think most of you are familiar with Skechers, the brand that you see like the slip-on shoes and all the other kind of like copycat shoes that they make. But they also have a performance line of shoes that they make for running, as well as I think a handful of other sports as well. Now, the previous Skechers performance product that I used to review was under the umbrella of Skechers Performance. Now, I don't know if that was an actual formal business unit or just what they called the division, but everything was under Skechers Performance. And then within that, all the running shoes had Go Run as a prefix. So there was like the Go Run Ride 8, and then the Go Run Razor, and there's a handful of other shoes. And then Skechers kind of like fell off the map. It felt like they stopped updating a lot of those shoes after a while. And so fast forward to 2025, and now we're getting shoes that don't have Go Run in the prefix anymore. They all have Aero. And so that's where we are now. We're in the Aero era of Skechers. And now they're not Skechers Performance, it's Skechers Running. And so the daily trainer for Skechers Running is the Aero Spark. Now this is a shoe that I haven't reviewed yet, but this is being marketed as the daily trainer, the kind of shoe that you would use for most of your runs on most of your days. And then the Aeroburst fits in as the max cushion shoe. It's the shoe that you wear when you're going to be on feet for a little bit longer, or you want to be a little bit more comfortable on your run. And then there isn't a carbon plated racer per se, but there's another shoe coming called the Aero Tempo. Now, I did get a chance to run in this shoe on a treadmill back when I met with Skechers at TRE last November. They didn't let me film it at the time, so I don't have any footage of that. And I don't have a model or an example of that shoe in hand just yet, but that shoe should be coming somewhat soon. That shoe isn't exactly a carbon racer. It's kind of more in the tempo workout shoe category, where it has some race shoe-like features, but it has a little bit more durability like a daily trainer. And that shoe is also quite a bit heavy for a pure racing shoe. So it's gonna be the kind of shoe that maybe you could do some racing in it, but it's really intended for some workouts. And so there's gonna be 3 shoes in kind of the next gen in the performance run category. Now, let's wrap up this video by going over the buying guide, and we'll also discuss some alternatives. The Skechers Aeroburst is a max cushion shoe with a lot of softness and a great comfortable fit. I love the new dual density midsole foam that they're using, and I think a lot of you guys could enjoy this shoe as well. Especially at the price of $150, I feel like that's a pretty good bargain for what you're getting in this shoe. But the price that you're really paying for this shoe is that it's got a giant Skechers logo on the side of it. And I think for me, that's what tempers my enthusiasm the most when I think about this shoe. Because it is a good shoe, but it's a Skechers shoe. And at a time where the American market is flooded with Temu knockoffs and AI hallucinations, the way that Skechers approaches businesses, which I think the most generous thing that you could say is that it takes a lot of heavy inspiration from the successes of other brands. I just don't have a lot of patience for the way that Skechers does things, and I'm just not super excited to put on the S logo. But let's take a look at some of the alternatives that are out there on the market to see if maybe some of the baggage that comes with Skechers is worth living in. I think the first shoe that came to mind when I ran in the Aeroburst. It comes from Brooks, and this is the Glycerin Max. This was my max cushion shoe of the year for 2024. It is also using a dual density foam. It is a very comfortable, great for a recovery run, great for a long time on feet runs kind of shoe. I'd say that the Glycerin Max doesn't carry its weight quite as well as the Aeroburst does, but I find that the Glycerin Max just overall provides a much more kind of luxurious and comforting kind of feel. You are paying a premium for that though. I do think that the Glycerin Max is a bit overpriced at its retail price of $200. The next shoe that I thought of when I ran in the Aeroburst is a shoe that I haven't done the full review on yet, but I think it's worth mentioning here nevertheless. It's from Mizuno. This is the Neo Vista 2. Now this is another shoe that uses dual density foams, though here they're using a supercritical top layer and then an EVA bottom layer in order to create their two densities of foam. And it's using a very comfortable knit upper. So there are some differences in terms of the way they're approaching comfort in the upper and the way that they're approaching softness in the midsole. This shoe also has a significant wave plate that's in here, a very thick plastic plate that is intended to help the shoe roll well and also provide some stability. But I think this shoe is another shoe that provides a great amount of softness and very pleasant squish, but it also has a very pleasant decompression. It has a nice spring back to it as well. And while I really enjoy this shoe and how comfortable it is also a shoe that I think is a bit overpriced at its retail price of $200. So I would use all three of these shoes in the exact same way for that recovery run or for that longer run where I really want to put an emphasis on comfort and I don't necessarily care as much about the paces. They're all very comfortable shoes. And I think the Skechers Aeroburst definitely has it where its beauty isn't just skin deep, but although you can get it at a significant discount compared to its competition, that cheaper price does come with a bit of baggage. If you have any other questions about this shoe or any of the shoes that I talked about today, feel free to put them in the comments down below, or better yet, stop by the live stream that I do Mondays and Thursdays over on the Kofuzi Run Club channel. I'd love to see you guys over there in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?